This is CES MMA.
Here is the Maverick Funding Corporation tail of the tape in the welterweight division. Chuck Cold Steel O'Neil taking on the Leprechaun Roger Carroll. O'Neil comes in at 12-6 with 4 knockouts, fighting out of East Bridgewater, Mass. Carroll 13-10 with 11 submission wins, fighting out of Conover, North Carolina. Let's send it down to Rick Provost for the official introduction.
This is the Maverick Funding Corp bout of the evening. It's scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds in the welterweight division. Your official and the man in charge at cage side is Kevin McDonald. We begin with the blue corner. He weighed in at 170 pounds. He has a professional record of 13 wins, 10 losses, 11 of those wins coming by way of submission. He is out of Conover, North Carolina, representing Team Superior. Please welcome Roger, the Leprechaun Carroll. And his opponent, he hails from East Bridgewater, Massachusetts. Fighting out of the red corner, weighing in at even 170 pounds. He has a professional record of 12 wins and 6 losses, with 4 wins coming by way of knockout and 5 by submission. He represents Mass BJJ. He is a former UFC fighter and member of the Ultimate Fighter cast. Please welcome Chuck Cold Steel O'Neil. 3 rounds, welterweights.
We're just about to get underway in this welterweight bout here at CES MMA 22. Mike Parenti joined by Scott Ream, cage side at Twin River Casino. This one's another great showdown. These submission specialists tonight, Scott.
Absolutely. A couple more Irish boys going at it right before St. Patrick's Day.
And a leprechaun, no less.
Does my heart good.
O'Neil coming off that big win over Chris Woodall. He had taken a tough fight against Yield Freitas here at Twin River.
Chuck really pouring it on right now.
He's not wasting any time. Just driving Carroll into the cage.
I think Carroll's trying to do his Chuck Liddell impersonation with the goatee and the...
I wonder if anyone's told him it looks like Chuck Liddell.
I think he did it on purpose. The trouble is I've never seen Chuck back up like that. Those are big, strong punches from Chuck.
6'2" O'Neil does have the height advantage over the 5'10" Carroll. It's worth noting.
You know, you got to remember too, Carroll's got 23 fights. He's been in the deep water before.
And 11 submissions out of his 13 wins, Scott.
So he'll be looking for the knockout right here.
It's always right on cue, isn't it? O'Neil, as we mentioned, is a former contestant on The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, he actually made it to the semifinals in The Ultimate Fighter.
He was a wild card entry who actually returned to the show after originally getting eliminated, and they got all the way to the semis. Came here in 2012 and beat Keith Jeffrey, which may still stand as one of the biggest wins of his career. No
nice
question.
Uppercut by Chuck there. Saw that takedown coming. Nice knee on the up.
Yeah, he did a nice job stuffing that takedown. You know Carroll's going to go for it. It's certainly going to be part of O'Neil's game plan to stuff those takedowns and work on that defense, because you know Carroll, being a fighter with 11 submissions, is going to want to get him to the ground at some point.
Well, Chuck's no stranger to the ground. He trains with some fantastic guys. You know, he's actually very good in the ground, to be honest with you. And I'd be very hard pressed if Chuck was concerned, overly concerned. He's concerned everywhere the fight goes, but Chuck on his back, he's very calm.
Carroll does have some big wins on his resume. He beat Drew Kennedy in 2013. That was Kennedy's first loss. He was 5-0 at the time. Has gone 3-2 in his last 5 bouts. So Carroll's been pretty consistent. He wins some, lose some, but he stays consistent and he stays active. And that's been the biggest thing.
23 fights, that's a lot of experience.
And he's only gone the distance 5 times, as we mentioned. He is prone to finishing fights, or in certain cases getting finished, but does have 11 submission victories to his credit.
Nice short elbows by O'Neil here with a couple of palm strikes before that. But you can see Carroll working diligently for that takedown, staying glued to him. He has very good head position. I'd like to see, there we go, you see Chuck push him off and exit with a big right hand on the out. That might make you rethink about grappling again in the cage.
O'Neil's been incredibly aggressive early on.
Chuck should just let him up. Let's see if he's got his legs about him. And that right hand should come again.
O'Neil just looks fearless in there, Scott. There's a certain
He's
thing
very
you can say about
confident.
that.
Yeah, he's
Absolutely.
very, very confident. Another straight right. Second straight right, landed very well.
Two big rights.
Couple
This
of
could be
hammer
it,
fists.
Scott.
Kevin McDonald's right on top of the action. But you can see Carroll doing well to create space. He's defending. He's pushing off, and he's going for he went for a heel hook sweep. He's going for another heel hook. Chuck defended it very, very well. Chuck should really just push off and stand up right here. He's winning the stand-up battle all day.
Carroll, if anything, has shown great toughness. He ate several hammer fists on the way down, and it hasn't flinched.
Absolutely.
Still in it. A minute 20 to go in round number 1. Great start for Chuck O'Neil. He tries to win his second consecutive fight.
I just like to see Chuck get back to his feet right here. He's being very dominant. You know, you have a guy with 11 submission wins. He's on his back right now, so this is where he wants to be.
Sure.
Chuck doing a good job. That's it.
O'Neil lets him back up.
Let's see if Carroll wants to go right in for a takedown and stand up and try to trade some more.
O'Neil has that long reach, those long legs. And here he is using his hands again. Rights and lefts landing. Carroll somehow on his feet.
He's got a beard for sure.
Oh,
Nice uppercut.
He is eating some shots.
He's got to dig the body here. Chuck's got to dig the body now. He's hunting the head a little too much. Go to the body, drop those hands.
Carroll tries for the takedown again.
It was a great job with Chuck being very aggressive to drop underneath that and go for the takedown. Chuck, though, doing a very good job of defending the takedown.
If anything, it just slows the action down and keeps O'Neil from peppering him with lefts and rights. So at least there's a more comfort zone here for Carroll.
That's when you're very susceptible to be taken down, is when you're really rooting into your punches.
Final 10 seconds of round number 1 in this welterweight battle. Carroll does get a nice takedown right at the bell.
Yeah, that was very, very quick.
So maybe a little bit of a momentum boost for him going into round number 2, but overall, a strong opening round for Chuck O'Neil.
I have to agree, sir.
O'Neil just letting his hands go from start to finish. And it's worth mentioning that O'Neil hasn't been afraid to fight anybody. Came here to fight Keith Jeffrey, a fan favorite in 2012, and won that fight. Then took on the incredibly tough Yield de Freitas. He was knocked out in that bout, but then rebounded in November to beat Chris Woodall, a longtime MMA veteran. So he's had some big wins on his resume, and he got himself right back on track in November. And really looked sharp in this opening round, letting his hands go. And we talked about it, fearless. You used the word confident. Those are both great adjectives to describe O'Neil's attack and approach in this fight thus far. We'll see how Carroll comes out in round number 2 as we get underway. O'Neil in the black trunks, Carroll in the white and black. Short right uppercut for O'Neil. Tries to go over the top. Now Carroll trying to be the aggressor.
Nice uppercut by O'Neil. Man, this kid, Carroll's got a heck of a chin. Tough as they come.
Eats a leg kick too on his way in.
Looks like Chuck's looking for a standing guillotine right here. He's got the right grip for it. He wants to get Carroll against the cage. He did, he let go of it.
Let go and then drove a knee upward for his efforts. O'Neil's certainly in control, looks comfortable, Scott.
I agree.
Carroll's tried 2 takedowns, tried 2 of them in round number 1, but O'Neil's prepared for him. And you have to think O'Neil was prepared for that from the start, knowing Carroll's background.
Without a doubt, and that's why, you know, Chuck, I think, is doing a really good job of using his height. He's long reach, he's really letting his hands go and peppering him. But you're dealing with a guy who, you know, obviously very tough, can take a punch. He's got 23 fights, lots of cage experience. And like you said, he either wins early or loses early. He's right in the thick of the fight. Yeah, it would behoove Chuck just to stand right back up.
And that's exactly what he does. He wants this fight standing up. He's been incredibly aggressive. Of course, Carroll frustrated because he wants some ground action.
Well, look at Carroll's defense. That's all he does is put his hands up very, very high to protect. If O'Neil would bring a knee to the body, there, now he's thinking.
There it is.
With the head, with the hands that high up, go after the body. Don't get in the clinch with him.
No, you're right.
Short elbows and disengage.
Yeah, he's left the body open the entire fight, Scott. You're absolutely right.
Chuck's seen it now. It takes a little while in the heat of the battle. But when if your corner's not yelling this out to him, dig the body here. He defends with very high guard, with his arms very high, protecting his head. Take the body apart with kicks, knees, and even punches.
Two and a half to go in round number 2, welterweight division. Chuck O'Neil in the black trunks, Roger Carroll in the black and white.
Carroll shoots that takedown. Chuck doing a good job of defending. Now you see Carroll try to jump guard there, and that didn't work out very well.
Back to his feet, 2 minutes to go.
Nice straight right hand by Carroll that time.
Probably the most effective punch he's landed the entire fight.
One of the first ones I've seen him throw.
Absolutely. It's been all O'Neil in the stand-up. Spinning back fist catches him on the back. O'Neil catches him in a right on the way out.
I would really like to see Chuck drive a knee. Combination to the head and finish it with the knee to the body.
And again, Scott, every time O'Neil lets his hands go, Carroll's defense is high, the body's open.
Wide open.
Just over a minute to go in the second round. Carroll trying desperately to do something with O'Neil against the cage, trying to get that takedown. It's eluded him the entire fight. O'Neil's takedown defense has been spectacular. His footwork's been great, his hands been great. He's done just about everything right, Scott.
Well, you know, now you got to try to find a way to finish. That's the big thing. And sometimes you get in there with a guy just incredibly tough to finish.
.30 seconds to go. Round number 2 of Schedule 3 in the welterweight division. Our heavyweight title fight on deck between John Johnston and Josh Hendricks, and of course the main event, Louis Felix, Drew Fickett in the lightweight division. So plenty more to come here at CES MMA 22. And right now you're watching Chuck O'Neil and Roger Carroll. It's been all O'Neil thus far through the first 2 rounds, closing 10 seconds. Most likely Carroll will just hang on here for the bell. And that'll do it. So Scott, again, it's another solid round for Chuck O'Neil when he let his hands go.
If any of the judges scored either the first or second round 10-8, I really wouldn't even argue. It's been that dominating. As much as it, this guy's just in there having a good time.
You know what, Roger Carroll having fun, giving the thumbs up to the camera. He's probably down 2 rounds, but he's still having a good time and smiling. When you've been around this long, Scott, you're probably doing it for fun at this point.
Well, I think he's doing it for fun since the beginning. He's got 23 fights. He's looking right at you going, I'm fine right now. I'm here, I'm fine.
I'll tell you, he ate some shots in round 1 and 2. At certain points, we thought he may have been out of the fight. And if anything tonight, he's shown toughness and he's shown an incredible chin on top of that.
Yeah, and if you take a quick look into his corner, he's standing up. He's not on a stool. It's a tough guy right there.
Third and final round underway. Chuck O'Neil in the black trunks, Roger Carroll in the black and white. It's been all O'Neil through the first 2 rounds. The 6'2" former Ultimate Fighter veteran taking charge of this fight from the opening bell and hasn't looked back.
Nice rear leg by Carroll. Carroll a lot more active right now. I'm enjoying seeing this.
It certainly has to be, Scott, in the position he's in this fight. and O'Neil coming off that win in November against Chris Woodall. Carroll 3-2 in his last 5 fights, but does have 11 submission wins. And at some point, and you keep seeing him try for that takedown, would love to get it down to the canvas where he's really been at his best, where he's most comfortable.
I would agree. He tried for a hip toss right there, but Chuck stuffed it.
That's one thing O'Neil has done incredibly well. One of many things he's done well has been stuffing those takedowns. Carroll's certainly tried.
Well, Chuck's a monster at this weight. You know, he's a big guy at this weight.
6'2". He's got about a 4-inch height advantage over Roger Carroll. That's certainly played a factor tonight.
What was this fight at 205, right? Because that's how big Chuck looks right now.
Chuck may have certainly rehydrated 35 pounds overnight. You're right, he is a big 170. That does make it tough in this division against
gigantic
170.
170.
Especially against a shorter opponent like a Roger Carroll, who probably doesn't put that much weight on between the weigh-in and actual fight night.
Yeah, depending on what you walk around at, it's going to dictate how much weight you put back on. Nice hip toss by Carroll, well done.
First major takedown for Roger Carroll. We'll see if he goes to work here. He's got 2.5 minutes to go in the fight.
He's got O'Neil's back. He's got one hook in. Working that second hook in. This is where Carroll wants the fight to be. Now he's continuing to have his back. O'Neil did a great job of circling around to God. Fantastic work by O'Neil.
Nice job indeed by Chuck O'Neil. That could have been a real tough spot for him, Scott.
Well, Carroll did a nice job riding out the back on the first initial turn when O'Neil went to turn into God.
It appeared as though Carroll may have had the early workings of a rear naked choke, but just not enough, and O'Neil flipped.
No, he had
right
the
back
hooks
around.
in, right?
Yeah.
He definitely had the hooks in, and it looked like Chuck went to shake him a little bit, but he rode his back very well, and then Chuck one more time turned it around and went belly down.
Just over a minute and a half to go in this third and final round. Chuck O'Neil, Roger Carroll, all action here in the welterweight division at CES MMA 22.
Carroll's doing a great job of being active off his back. Working to rubber guard right now. Throwing heel strikes into the kidneys and the hips.
You're right.
That's old school.
Not content with just laying there and riding out the bell, which he can't afford to do.
No, and he goes after a heel hook right now, Carroll does. I think it would behoove Chuck to stand up.
I was just going to say the exact same thing. I'm not sure why he's trying to engage here in this final minute with Carroll.
Well, I think he's very comfortable on the ground. Chuck naturally is.
Sure.
Now, but we're on the outside looking in. We think he's up 2-0. He's controlling the stand-up game.
And we know Carroll's desperate at this point.
Yep. Carroll looking for a omoplata sweep there, and he fend off it. Carroll doing a very good job of defending himself off his back. Chuck's really not landing anything clean via strikes, and he really hasn't been able to successfully pass Carroll's guard.
O'Neil going right back in with 30 seconds to go, no fear whatsoever. He has been in complete control of this fight. Carroll had that nice hip toss, but that was all he's really done in this third round.
Those heels are, Chuck's going to feel those tomorrow. They're not winning the fight for Carroll, man, but I guarantee you Chuck goes up a flight of stairs tomorrow, he's going to be crying about it.
They at least send a message on the way out, Scott, if anything.
Right.
And that'll do it, Scott. 3 rounds in the books. Chuck O'Neil, Roger Carroll. A strong effort by O'Neil and a gritty effort, certainly, by Roger Carroll, who hung in there despite some tough blows early on in the fight.
Oh, yeah, this guy's a gamer. No two ways about it. Tough guy.
And you can tell Roger Carroll certainly enjoys the sport with the attitude he's had in this fight at yesterday's weigh-in. He has come here to have a good time, and certainly win, lose, or draw has had a great night. But for Chuck O'Neil, it appears he's on the verge of another big win, back-to-back wins after losing to Yilda Freitas last summer. And that gets him right back in the conversation again, Scott, in the 170-pound division. Obviously, O'Neil wants to get back to that big stage again where he was on The Ultimate Fighter, possibly get back to the UFC. It's a tough climb, but he needs to pile up as many wins as possible in order to do that.
It's not just wins, it's convincing wins. A decision against a tough guy like this, that's a convincing win. Chuck didn't lose a round, wasn't anywhere close to losing a round, but you want to finish. You want to put wins together and finishes.
Assuming the judges get it right, he will be 13-6 after this one.
That's a huge assumption.
And Carroll would drop to 13-11. And again, a big win for Chuck O'Neil, trying to get back into that UFC picture. And the 170 weight class is certainly a crowded, competitive weight class. It's not easy for him, but he's on the right path nonetheless. This would be his second consecutive win after, speaking of convincing wins, a convincing knockout win over Chris Woodall back in November at Foxwoods Casino. And again, Roger Carroll really stood in there. And you see these two talking in the center of the cage now, just exchanging pleasantries. Carroll ate some shots in that first round. We thought he might have been out of it. Hammer fist after hammer fist, and somehow he stood in there and withstood all that damage. So credit to him for coming here and putting up a tough fight against a real tough opponent. He had a 4-inch height disadvantage going in and never really seemed to be affected by that. So credit to him as well, and of course to Chuck O'Neil as well. Let's send it down to our cage side announcer, Rick Provost, for the particulars.
Okay, for tonight's decision of this bout, we go to the judges' scorecards. Judge Avery scores the bout 29-28. Judge Cordero scores the bout 30-27. And Judge Asmar scores the bout 30-27. And your winner by unanimous decision, Chuck Cold Steel O'Neil.